I don't care what any revisionists try to say or any dopey Bears fans try to say. There's no question in my mind that the Bears were heavily interested in trying to find a running back in this year's NFL draft. And they were looking to do it somewhere on day 2 or the beginning of day 3. When you look at round 2, they had pick 39. Certainly felt like Travion Henderson was in the mix, but the Patriots took him at 38, and there was like a clip showing the Bears war room, and they're probably a little bit disappointed. They pivoted and they took Luther Burden the third. And sometimes that's just the way the draft happens, right? You can't always get everything to go your way. But in a deeper running back class, you're like, yeah, he would be our ideal target, but he's not the only option, right? But then you get to round 4, and you're like, okay, Bears have like pick 109 here. There's still running backs with value on the board. And then I was heartbroken when I saw Bayshell Tootin and Cam Scadaboo drafted back to back a little bit ahead of the Bears. And then the Bears bailed out of pick 109, which told you that they had eyes on one of those two guys. It has to. Like, because otherwise, why would you? And that could happen, right? You might have different tiering in terms of where you have these players ranked. So there you go. But it was like the Bears have to address this position at some point in time. And they inevitably did, albeit in round 7 with Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. And, it's like one of these deals where at least they took somebody, but should they have really waited to round 7? And did they try to outthink themselves? Did they try to get too cute? And this whole notion of like, oh, DeAndre Swift is good. No, he's not. Maybe this team envisions a little bigger role for Roshan Johnson, or we're going to have to hear a bunch of Ian Wheeler hype for the next 4 or 5 months. Oh my God. But you had to figure, like, they're got to take a running back at some point. Why wouldn't you? You're drafting tight ends and wide receivers high. Why wouldn't you also draft a running back high? Anyways, they didn't. But at least they did take one swing at the plate here. And I think they took a good swing here with Kyle Monangai. A lot to like about him. The way I would think about him as a prospect is like similar to Cam Scadaboo, a level down from that. Scadaboo, I had a second round pick on, even with the concerns about his speed, because I'm like, his power is great. He's a great weapon as a pass receiver. His contact balance is elite. Like, he just makes guys miss. He gets yards after contact. And Monangai has some of those abilities as well. So he's an intriguing, like, 7th round swing at the plate at running back. What I like about his game, he's compact, he's powerfully built, really low center of gravity. So you don't really have to worry to me that much about his pad level. 5'8", 215 pounds or so. Those type of short, compactly, powerfully built guys can be really hard to fuck with. It really can be. While he didn't test well in the 40, I will say he had very good short area quickness. I think his 10-yard split was like 1.54 seconds, but more so the film shows you a guy with great like 0 to 10-yard burst. And that matters. I would argue that matters a whole hell of a lot more that as a running back than your 40-yard speed. It's your 10-yard speed. Like, how quickly can you get to the hole? That's what it's about, right? And if he can get to the hole, now he's up to speed. His contact balance comes into play. His physical running style comes into play, and he can make some damage happen. But he's not just like this small thumper, if you will. He's got a high-end level of effectiveness with a variety of cuts, whether it's a cut off of one leg, jump cuts. Like, this is a guy that can make some people miss. I mentioned before his contact balance. It's really, really good. It's not Ashton Genty, Cam Scadaboo level contact balance, but still pretty damn good nonetheless. Something that coaches will really like. And while he's small, I will save this for him in pass protection. You'll probably see some people talk about he needs to get better in pass protection, but he's willing to bring a wallop. And you're going to see like one highlight of him where he decleated somebody. Yeah, that shit's impressive. You take notice, right? But I think you just generally see a willingness and effort to put in pass protection. If nothing else, to get a chip and like buy the quarterback an extra couple tenths of a second, and that's all you really need. I also think when you talk about the passing game with Monangai, he's an underrated route runner. He has solid hands as a receiving option. Like, you're not necessarily talking about deploying him like a Christian McCaffrey or Jahmyr Gibbs, but he is a guy that if you have him on the field, it doesn't have to telegraph that you're in a run-only situation. He can be used as like a tertiary option in the passing game. He's able to identify when something's developing on the outside and he's able to quickly react to it and get there. arguably my favorite trait about Kyle Monangai is his kind of like high to the chest Tiki Barber running style, a late career Tiki Barber that is. It yields tremendous ball security. I don't know that Monangai ever had a lost fumble during his time in college. When you go and watch him, like it's because of the way he holds the ball. Like I absolutely love it. Too many guys run with the ball really, really low, and it leaves them susceptible for an arm rip or the old peanut punch. But he's got that ball up here, like it just doesn't leave a lot of area for that to happen. So when you're talking about a guy and his shot to make a roster, which is the 7th round pick, it's a fair question. How can he do that? One way is by having tremendous ball security because the coaches can trust you to not turn the ball over. Monangai brings that in abundance. And he's also a team leader, which is evidenced by him being named a captain his last 2 seasons in college. So he's a positive presence in the locker room, positive presence on the team. Lots of things to like about this kid, honestly. You could totally see where the play style that he has, the type of player that he is, would lead to him becoming a fan favorite for sure in Chicago. In terms of question marks or concerns with this game, his shorter size, I think, leaves you questioning how effective he can be in goal line and short yardage situations. As I think his results in those situations at Rutgers were kind of mixed, especially like if you're talking about heavy formations and you got to run it up the middle. Like truly lowering his shoulder and just running straight up the middle and getting those tough inches, the tough yard, that's not his strength. And the fact that he's only 5'8", 215 pounds kind of plays into that a little bit. I would say his vision's average at best. It's certainly not high end. What I saw from him in 2024 is he needs to be able to see the hole actually open and then react to it. So you could say, is that really vision or is that instincts? Is that feel? Fair push, right? But you want to be able to have a guy anticipate where the hole is developing instead of having to wait to see it. Um, Something, it's not always the easiest thing to work on, but it is definitely a flaw at times for him because he can also be a little impatient, but that kind of comes and goes. He has other times where he's a really patient runner. His short strides, I mentioned before his lack of home run speed. Like he's not a home run hitter. He would never be a home run hitter at the NFL level. So if you're looking for a guy that can hit 70, 80-yard runs, 70, 80-yard touchdowns, Kyle Monangai is not your dude. But if you're looking for a guy to turn a 3-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, a 5-yard gain into an 8-yard gain, a 10-yard gain into a 15 or 20-yard gain, that is something that he can do and do pretty well. For his size, you wonder um, how is he going to be running between the tackles? And I think he'd be a little hesitant sometimes hitting the hole hard. Would like to see him be a little more confident and aggressive in doing that. Like I said, mentioned before, while he is really good at identifying opportunities to bounce around the outside, at times he's a little too impatient with that, a little too quick to go to that. You'd like to see him sometimes not always be looking for the big spectacular run. Just lower your shoulder and get 3 yards and go on to the next play. But overall, Kyle Monangai is the type of leader and hard worker I think most every team would want in their locker room. I really do. And I think, frankly, it's a crock of shit, and it works to the Bears' advantage that a young man with this type of talent and leadership was still available in round 7 when he was, because that just shouldn't happen. I would say he probably should have gone 2 or 3 rounds higher if he was like 5'11" and or maybe 225 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he would have been like a round 4, maybe round 5 pick. His lack of high-end speed does kind of limit how dynamic he can be and how interested a team might be in truly making him like their feature back. But his pass protection, his receiving skills, I think give him a shot as a 3-down back. Like I think a number of people are going to look at him and say, based off of his running style, that hey, we think like he's a complimentary back, but he may be a between the tackle first and second down guy. And I think that's just not representing Monangai's skills as well as they can. I think his physicality and his contact balance give him a real shot to contribute as a rookie. And when I look at how I would grade Monangai, I'm not as concerned with the size. Yeah, I'm going to knock him a little bit because I don't think he's a great goal line guy. I think his vision could be better. I wish he had more speed, so you can't rate him a first rounder. But I think 7th round was way too low. Like I personally look at when I think about the bigger picture, I thought the best pick in this draft for the Bears was Ozzie Trapillo. Because you're talking about I think he's left tackle. You took him in round 2, and even if he only performs at a Braxton Jones level long term, you're looking at the next 4 years, maybe paying Trapillo million, $2 million a year versus Braxton Jones $20+ million a year to be mid at left tackle. Which would you rather have? Come on now. But I think the second best pick in the draft for Bears by far was Kyle Monangai. When you look at the value, when you look at the skills, when you look at the position that was addressed, yeah, it took them forever to address running back, but at least they did, and I think they addressed it with the guy that really has a chance to outplay his value. Now, if you've got people that are sitting there and saying, like, oh man, he's going to come in and he could be running back run, and like, let's not drink the fucking Kool-Aid too much. Just because the Bears took a running back doesn't mean he's the be-all, end-all. But if you are saying he's got an opportunity to make this roster, you could see the coaches falling in love with him becoming a fan favorite. You could see him being a guy that works his way into the running back rotation as you go through 2025. Then I think the answer is abso-fucking-lutely. He could do all of that and more. He really could. Like, I think there were a number of running backs drafted ahead of him that I would have not taken ahead of Kyle Monangai. That's just a fact to me, man. This guy has 3 down back potential. And as a ball carrier, like that physicality he runs with, that low center of gravity, that contact balance, like it gives him a chance to stick. So, like I said, 4th, 5th round grade on him, probably leaning more on the 4th round side. I thought he was a bit of a poor man's Cam Scadaboo in this draft, which isn't a knock because I had Scadaboo graded pretty highly. I really like this Monangai kid, and I think he was the second best pick for the Bears in this year's draft personally.